Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next week's topic of portfolio management. Portfolio management, as the overarching theme of the course, is naturally one of the more important aspects that we will focus on during our time together. Portfolio management is a broad topic, so our goal during this presentation will be to touch on some of the more key and important factors as we go through this. Let's get started. Some of the most important things to keep in mind with regard to portfolio management is that you have various objectives in performance evaluation. And because you have various objectives in performance evaluation, there are a variety of ways that you can manage a particular portfolio. Two of the more common classifications of management that you have are passive and active management, as we see here on the slide. As the name implies with passive management, this represents a diversified portfolio that has no security mispricing identification. The reason that this is the case with a passively managed portfolio is because there is little to no updating of the asset classifications. That means that the decisions for the passively managed portfolio are made and adhered to based on the preliminary research conducted by that particular fund's manager. With active management, on the other hand, this requires forecasting very many and broad markets or identifying mispriced securities in order to achieve higher returns. With the actively managed portfolio, this is done because decisions are made daily about the asset allocation of the funds of that particular portfolio. With the actively managed fund, as you would imagine, a lot of this relies on market timing. Market timing speaks to the relative performance that drives fund movement between the risky portfolio and cash. And what that is illustrating or attempting to illustrate is on one side of the argument, you have the risky portfolio, and on the other side, you have cash, which there is said to be zero risk associated with that. So a lot of this depends on market timing, as well as the objective of the fund, whether it wants to be a high risk or a low risk fund. So keep those aspects in mind. One way that we have to measure the volatility, since we just mentioned volatility moments ago, is a ratio known as the Sharpe ratio. What this tracks is it tracks the reward to volatility. And in order to do this, what it does is it measures the excess return as compared to the standard deviation of the firm. This is used when choosing among competing portfolios that will not be mixed, meaning they will not be interspersed between one another. And this allows you to determine whether that fund can justify the risk that it is taking on. If it does, the Sharpe ratio would be somewhat high, meaning that there is a reward, most likely, for the taking on of these additional units of risk. Another way that we measure risk is the popular Morningstar risk-adjusted rating. This happens when company peer groups are established based on the Morningstar style definitions. And what this does is it seeks to group similar companies in like industry to compare them with one another. And the risk-adjusted performance is then ranked, and then stars are assigned according to the table, with the 5-star being the most highly coveted, and then working its way down the scale from there. Now, when changing portfolio composition, this would align itself more closely with the actively managed fund. There can be some problems with various performance measures and getting a reliable measure of the firm's volatility. This is because of the assumption that the fund maintains a constant level of risk, which can be somewhat problematic for funds that are engaging in active asset allocation, meaning funds and capital are being moved around so frequently, it can be difficult to get an accurate assessment. And large pools or universes of funds, depending on how you look at it, some will have abnormal performance each period simply because of chance. And this can oftentimes also be adjusted and made more problematic because of survivorship bias, which meaning and speaks to the numbers could be skewed due to the fact that only the survivors are left remaining, which could give you a false positive in terms of ratings, which that is denoted toward the bottom of the slide, is when you have an upward bias in average fund performance due to failure to account for the failed funds over that particular period. So you get a false positive because the ones that have failed have essentially fallen out of the measurement scale. That essentially wraps up our brief rundown of portfolio management and risk evaluation. I do hope that this has been helpful, and we will have a couple additional presentations throughout the remainder of the course. I hope you find these beneficial and enjoyable, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.